Hello everybody, I thought we would try something new this week, and I've done a few ukulele string changes in the past, and I thought it would be fun to try and show you guys how to do an acoustic guitar string change. A friend needed some help changing some guitar strings for her son, and I thought it would be a perfect opportunity. And here, showing you some of the tools. This is a set of needle nose pliers. Probably the best thing to take out the bridge pins. And here we have a pair of wire cutters, and we're going to cut the excess string and the old strings off with that. Probably not going to use these pliers, but I thought it would be nice to have it. And this is the most important thing, is the tuner. Once we get the strings on the new set, we will tune the strings and get them all ready for the client. And just a cloth to help with taking the bridge pins out. And this is a set of extra strings that I had just lying around. This is the Martin set, Acoustic SP, 12 gauge strings, and I really like these strings, nice and bright sounding. They don't last quite as long as some of the ones with the film on them, but I like the sound of these strings. All right, let's get started. Just showing you the old strings here. I'm just kind of detuning it so that I can get to a point where I can unwind the excess strings. They like to coil the excess strings so that it kind of keeps it out of the way. Instead of snipping the excess, I like to cut the excess string just to keep it nice and clean. Kind of detuning it just a little bit more so that I can easily slip it through. There we go. And I'm just kind of feeding that guy through. All right, got it through. And now we're going to focus our attention on the bridge area. We're going to get our cloth, and I'm not going to use that set of pliers. I'm going to go ahead and use the needle nose. It does a cleaner job at taking the bridge pins out. And you want to go ahead and try to find just the right angle. Make sure you place the cloth over the bridge pin, find the right angle, and just simply pop it out. Don't be afraid to kind of just give it a nice pop. And we're going to take the old string out, the E string. Taking a look at it, yeah, these definitely needed to be changed. Seen better days. So let's open the new pack, a fresh pack here. And you'll notice in the pack they're labeled low E through high E, and showing you E, A, D, G, B, E. So we're going to grab the top pack here, the low E string. They come nice and coiled in these packs, and I'm going to show you a technique on how to get the right measurement. Some people like to measure the old string against the new string and kind of mark it. We're going to first feed it through there. You see that little end part there? I'm just going to feed it through the slot and push in the bridge pin. Then we're going to go to the tuning peg area and make sure you kind of slip it through the hole there, just like you're doing like a needle and thread. Yep, slip it right through. And so this technique here is how I know how much slack to have on the string. Is I use my pointer finger, pop it on the 3rd fret, and almost form like a bridge, so the string kind of comes to the base of my index finger, and I know that that's where I want to mark the amount of slack. Okay, and I kind of bend mark the string by just bending it a little bit, and then I start winding the peg while pulling on the string to give it some tension. It'll just make it a lot easier to pull on the string. So it's kind of a balance between pulling on the string, and then once you get it to the right tension, you want to go ahead and push down on the bridge pin on the end. Make sure the bridge pin doesn't pop out as you're winding the string. So it's a delicate dance that you have to do. So you see here, I'm pushing down on the bridge pin as I tighten the string. I don't want it to pop out, and I don't want to actually get it perfectly in tune yet. I just want to get it kind of in a ballpark area, and we'll worry about getting it in tune afterwards when we get all of the strings on. So now detuning the A string, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the E string. Here we go. We're just gonna once again unwinding the excess and feeding it through. And on the other strings, I'm going to show you a quicker way to do this. This is just one way to do it. It's kind of a more fun way to do it that I'm going to show you in just a bit. Yeah, get our trusty cloth and our needle nose pliers. Go ahead and put it over the bridge pin and pop that guy out. Like I said, don't be afraid. Can't hurt it. Oh, you can, but I wouldn't be afraid to do that. And so you see here we have the end. Just pop that out. And I like to wind up my old strings just to keep it nice and neat, and so they're not just kind of flying all over the place. Sometimes if the old string is still decent, particularly the E string, I like to keep that handy in case a string breaks at a gig. I have that available. So here's the new set, the new A string. I'm going to unwind it. Get our bridge pin, go ahead and feed that through, make sure it's nice and snug in there, give it a nice push. Once again, feed the other end of the string through the hole, and then we're going to use that measuring technique that I showed you on the E string once we get that through. So I don't know if you notice, the way I'm wrapping it around, I'm wrapping it towards the inside. So I'm doing one wrap along the inside. First I'm getting my measurement with the my little pointer finger technique, index finger technique there, and I'm kind of doing one wrap on the kind of clockwise direction, so that the string is on the inside rather than the outside. See how it's on the inside there? And I'm doing that delicate balance once again, pulling on the string while I tighten. Sometimes you can get something like a string winder where you can manually wind it. There's also drill attachments that you can get, drill bit attachments to kind of speed up the process. I like just taking my time and doing it by hand. It's a kind of a therapeutic process to winding these guys. It takes a little while, so you gotta take your time. And the whole process of changing strings to me is kind of a therapeutic process, and I like to take my time to do it. Right here, we're just winding it up so that we get, and then just make sure that the string is winding layer as it winds onto the last part. It just winds. It stacks going down so that make sure it doesn't get kind of piled up on each other. Make sure it forms a nice stacked wind, if that makes any sense. So I'm just gonna once again getting it into a relative area. So now we're in the third string, 2 down. And same thing as the last 2. And you notice these strings are all, so far these are all wound strings. The last 2, the B and the E, high B and E, are unwound. So all the ones so far have been wound strings. Doing the same thing, just unwinding the excess so that we can get it through. And just giving a little bit more slack to make that process a little bit easier. Kind of wiggling it a little bit so that we can pop it through here. A little bit more slack. Got it out, got the cloth, needle nose pliers, get it in place, and nice firm pop. And there you go. I'm just gonna feed that through. Get it out of the way. Wind it up so that it's nice and neat and you don't have a bunch of excess string flying all over the place in your workspace. You want to keep everything kind of nice and neat. And here is the D string. Just like the last 2, we're going to unwind it. Pop it inside. Make sure it's at the top of the end of the bridge pin. That's important to note. Give it a nice push in there. And like the other 2, we're going to go ahead and feed this through. Wind it clockwise around that tuning peg area. I'm going to use that measurement process and kind of wind it around 1 time clockwise so that you get a little bit of starter tension. And just double check the measurement and start winding. You notice every once in a while I kind of push down on the top of the string where I'm winding right there. See, that just ensures that it just it stacks nicely as you're winding it. And I'm getting it just kind of in a relative rough area, making sure that bridge pin is pushed in nice and tight as I'm winding once again. Don't want that guy to pop out. And we're going to do a cheat method here. This is the fun method I was talking about earlier. Instead of feeding it through the excess string, we're gonna kind of just speed up the process here and just snip that guy right there. I like to do it right by the sound hole area just because it allows you a little bit more space to work with. And we got a nice clean snip there. That way you don't have to feed it through the top. We're still gonna have to feed it through, but it's gonna be a lot faster, trust me. Same thing, we're just gonna get our cloth, needle nose pliers, pop that guy out. Now we get that excess string out there from the bridge area. And you'll notice now this time, so we don't have to uncoil that old string. We can just kind of feed the excess string out from the snipped portion. You'll see what I mean here in just a little bit. Still got cut up just a little bit, but it's going to be so much easier. You just feed that through from where we snipped it at the sound hole. And now you see that clean break. We can just toss that guy. Nice wrapped string here so we can keep it nice and tidy in our workspace. Gonna grab our next string. So this is still a wound string. The last 2, the B and the E, are going to be unwound. Pop that guy in there with the bridge pin. Just kind of readjusting the guitar. Give it a nice push. Don't be afraid to put some pressure on there. I'm going to feed this guy through like the other ones. So this is on, so this is going to be a little bit different because it's on the other side. So the first three, we're doing it kind of clockwise. This way we're going to wrap the string around after we measure it, of course, with our index finger technique. We're going to wrap it around counterclockwise. Okay. And you'll see what I mean here in just a little bit, so that all the strings kind of are motioned towards the middle of the guitar. That makes sense. Here I'm just showing you which way to turn the tuning peg here. It's kind of a little harder to tune from this angle on that side of the headstock. Same thing like we did on the other ones, kind of hold the string in place, give it some tension while you tighten it, and the whole time, every once in a while, you want to check the bridge pin just to make sure it's not coming out of the bridge pin. If I would just give it a nice push every once in a while, just to make sure it's nice and solid inside of the bridge. And here, getting it kind of relative once again, not exact pitch, but relative. Grabbing our wire cutters and just snipping it again. Taking our needle nose pliers, popping that guy out. You'll notice that it gets a lot easier as you go, you know, as you make your way through the strings. Feeding the excess through the tuning machines here. You'll notice that's a lot quicker. You don't have to uncoil that coiled string. You can just feed it through from the other side. Grab that next set. And you'll notice that this is the first set of unwound strings. You can see how nice and smooth these strings are. Some people think that these are a little bit harder to wind, and I don't think so. I think they're all pretty much the same. They're just lighter gauge, smoother. So same as the last strings, get the end, pop it in there, get your bridge pin, give it a nice solid push. Feed it through here. And just like the last string, we're going to pre-wind it in a counterclockwise direction after we measure it, of course. And once I get it to just a little bit of tension, I start winding it, holding with my right index finger, so that it gives a little bit of tension as I wind. This is where that drill bit would come in handy, or a string winder if you're not a patient person. Like I mentioned before, I kind of like taking my time and you know, enjoying the process. Good time to think of song ideas. just kind of getting it in the right spot. I'm holding the bridge pin on the other end just to make sure it doesn't pop out. Voila. Getting it just in relative area. And I'm loosening the final E string. Final string, the E string, high E. Getting our wire clippers and giving it a nice fun snip. Don't be afraid. And just popping out that last bridge pin here. There we go. The reason I use a cloth is just so I don't mar the finish of the bridge pin. Some people don't use a cloth. They can, they don't care about marring the finish of the bridge pins. You can always replace the bridge pins if they get marred. I like using a cloth. I don't like to, buy unnecessary bridge pins if I don't have to. Yeah, I'm just gonna feed that last string in there with the bridge pin. Another thing that you can do too is you can also upgrade the bridge pin if you like to. I've done that on some old instruments where I wanted to upgrade it to like an ebony bridge pin. They make all sorts. They make some with fancy abalone inlay, and you can kind of go crazy looking for different types of finishes on the bridge pins. Now we're feeding through. I had to take out that excess of the last string, and now we're feeding through the very final string here through the tuning machine hole. Doing our measuring technique with our index finger right here at 3rd fret, and measure it, pull it up to the base of your index finger, form like a little tiny bridge. That's how you know how much slack you should have. And then I mark where that area is on the string that was fed through by just bending it a little bit. See how it's bent up? And then now I did my pre-wind in the counterclockwise direction, and then now I'm winding it counterclockwise while pushing down on the string to give it some tension once again. Then just kind of reinforcing the bridge pin so that it doesn't pop out. Giving a little push every once in a while. And grabbing the trusty tuner. So this is the fun part. Once all of the strings are installed, we can fire up the tuner and then kind of get it in a rough area once again. So we're just gonna tune it to E. I kind of sometimes I tune it to the exact pitch, but what's gonna happen is it's gonna get out of tune after you tune it. So I'm not that concerned about getting it exact this time. I'm just once again a little bit closer than it was before. Now we're tuning with the A string. Now the D string, getting it close enough, and then we're going to, not quite the B yet, I'm going to do the G string, tune it up there. And there are a bunch of different tuners that you can use when you tune up. A lot of great ones. I use a great one called Clear Tune. It's an app that you can download. I have no affiliation with Clear Tune, but you can download them on both iOS and Android devices. And this particular one that I'm using here is the Fender Bullet Tuner. And this is a great little tuner, nice and bright, very accurate. I'll put links for both of the tuners in the description below. can check out both of them. I use both regularly. This little bullet tuner is great because it's nice and bright. You can see it in gig situations when the venue is dark. You can see where you're at quickly. And right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of just going back and making sure that it's nice and finely tuned, getting it to exactly where it needs to be. Just going back to all the strings. And what I like to do too is I like to play a chord. I mean, tuners are great, and but you know, it's never good to place complete faith into just the tuner alone. So what I like to do is once I get the guitar where the tuner says it's in tune, I like to play a chord just to kind of verify that, you know, with my own ears that the guitar is in tune. And there's the thumbs up that it is in tune. And this is another technique that I like to do is I like to I'm just kind of pulling on the string, starting from the sound hole, working my way up, pulling and wiggling at the same time. And this just kind of puts the strings or pulls the string and sets them in place, kind of helping it settle. Basically, it's gonna take about a day or two for it to kind of settle in place. So you might find that you'll have to retune every time you take your guitar out to play it, for about a day, I would say, maybe, of constant playing. So I like to do that little wiggle technique to just help the guitar settle in place. So now we're gonna go ahead and take our wire clippers and just snip off the excess. Just make sure that you're using the rounded side. See that side right there? And the rounded side towards the tuning peg so that you can get kind of a closer angle when you're cutting. See, is that rounded side there, and just kind of get as, you know, as close as you want to get. I don't like to get too close. I like to leave just about that much. And do the same with the next. And I kind of push down with my thumb. I push the string that's left. I try to kind of push it down a little bit, just so it doesn't stab your gig bag or you. You want to make sure you keep all that excess string kind of pointed down. Some people like to clip a little bit extra string, and they like to bend the tips of the strings. I should have actually showed you an example of that, but I just went ahead and kept all of the strings nice and cleanly cut. Got all of them. Now we're just kind of, after we did that clipping, it's probably going to go just a little bit out of tune. So I'm just verifying the tuning here, fine tuning it on all of the strings. Playing a chord just to verify that it is indeed in tune. And that's pretty much it. Thumbs up. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. We didn't end up using these pliers. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. You can let me know in the comment section below if you'd like to see more content like this. A little bit different than my usual content, but I hope to kind of mix things up in the future, just to provide a little more diverse content. Hope everyone's staying safe and indoors during these crazy times. If you'd like to find out more information about me, you can go to www.stevenespaniola.com. You can also go to @StevenEspaniola on my Instagram. I also have other videos on YouTube that you can check out. And until next time, hope you enjoyed this content. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Ahui ho and malama pono.